Okay, and now we're very gifted and lucky today. We're going to be hearing from Corey. And Corey's going to be talking to us about obstacles for listening, obstacles in listening. I think it's going to be really great because we can all, in our journeys, in an ongoing way, I think, really use some tips in those relationship skills with each other, in our families, with our friends, with people we're in community with. So we're very blessed. I think Corey's a bit of an expert on these kind of topics with his life coaching and all that kind of stuff. So let's give Corey a really warm welcome.
Thanks, Mel. Yeah, it's great to be here. Thanks for coming out on this hot day. I realise it's quite hot. I won't talk too long, and I'll have a bit of exercises as well at the end so we can engage a bit with the content, which will be good. So Mel said I'm an expert, but I thought I was an expert at listening actually, but then I asked my wife and she laughed. But also, listening is such an important thing. When you think about the people that connect with you, those people that have touched your lives the most, they're probably people that are listened to. Yeah, they look into your soul and they know you. So who here knows about the experience of really being listened to? Yeah, most hands go up. I hope everyone's experienced it because it's such a great gift you can give to someone, is to listen to them. I looked up some statistics and actually men only use half their brain to listen and women use their whole brain to listen. So that would probably explain why I say to my wife, okay, you got to repeat things twice to me. But they also say that, we only really hear 17 to 25% of what we listen to. So I'm just going to repeat my talk like 4 times, if that's all right. So it is... Yeah, with this talk, I'm going to talk about the obstacles to listening, what gets in the way of listening. And it's going to be a bit of a, the shadow side of our soul. What's that, sinister part of us that's kind of like holds back, like with the words that we heard spoken. But isn't it beautiful that God's always reaching out to us, always calling us, as we heard in that prophetic word, he's reaching out to draw us closer. But it's us that kind of step back. So I'm going to talk a bit about that, like what's that dark side that kind of, makes us step back. So I thought, and also then I'll talk about 3 ways on how you can listen. 3 ways simple ways you can put in practice and to make sure you're listening. Because if you're doing the 3 things, then you'll be really listening and really connecting with the people you're talking to. So I thought I'd start off with, the beginning. In the beginning, we had, so I've got to turn this on. So in the beginning, we had Adam and Eve. That's the first story of human interaction, human connection with God. And in that instance, we know what happens. Like God said to Adam and Eve, he said, "You are free to eat from the tree in the garden, but you must not eat from the tree of the knowledge of the good and evil. For when you eat from this, you will certainly die." And so we know that story, yeah? We know what happens, actually. Adam and Eve don't actually listen. So they reach out and grab the fruit and eat of it. So what was it that stopped them? What was that in their hearts that kind of made them think, oh, no, this apple looks good? Like God said that it's going to kill us, but it looks good. And maybe there's more to this apple. Maybe we'll be like God. Maybe we'll look better. We'll be on the same level as God. So that's the first fallout of not listening. And what a fallout that is, what destruction that caused in not listening. And you probably felt it yourself, like when you're talking to people and they don't listen, like they're just looking at, around and, you're talking to them something important and they're not actually listening to you. How hard is that? You feel alone. You feel like you're just the only person in the room. And, feeling lonely is probably the worst feeling you can have as a human being. So I'm just emphasizing emphasizing the importance of listening and connecting. So we know with Adam and Eve, there was a lot of fear, there was a lot of blaming, there was hiding, they hid from God. So there was this disconnection. And don't we do it in our own lives with God? There's something that we're ashamed of, there's something that we don't want to face, so we distance ourselves from God and from others as well. And then it led on to, the story of Cain. So God said to Cain, "Why are you angry? Why is your face downcast? If you do what is right, will you not be accepted? But if you do not do what is right, sin is crouching at your door. It desires to have you, but you must rule over it." But we know that, with Cain, he did not listen. He killed his brother because there was that hurt. He was hurt. He saw that his brother's offering was more accepted by God. And so he wanted to be on par. He wanted to take that glory. He wanted to look good. So the word God spoke to him, he didn't listen to. He said, no, so there's something sinister, yeah? Something sinister in that. So, but then we come on to Abraham. And Abraham, we know, was a man of faith, and he walked with God. So we hear about Abraham in the readings today in Mass, and it's the call of, God calls Abraham. He says, "Go forth from your country, your people, your father's household, to the land I will show you." God calls him forth from a place of security, a place of, home. We all love home, but he's calling him out into this insecurity. Often that's the journey we have with God. He calls us out, and it's hard to listen to God because he's calling us out into a place of insecurity. But God he's always faithful. He always takes us to a place that we're accepted, we're loved, and he'll be there for us. So then, of course, there's Jesus, and we hear in the gospel today that God the Father says, "This is my Son, the beloved. He enjoys my favour. Listen to him." He's really pleading with us that, he has the words of eternal life, but it's us that kind of draw back. So what is it that, has stopped us from listening to certain words from God and certain words from others? Because there's some, and of course, Mother Mary says, do whatever he tells you. But there's something, within us that holds us back. There's an obstacle to listening. There's something in us. And, this it's in all of us. We're none of us, are excused from this. This is, in all of us. I was thinking of a story recently where I heard of these two brothers that had an argument with each other, and they basically, they stopped talking for 23 years. Basically, it was some argument, but then after 23 years, they forgot what the argument was about. But, one of the brothers, started to think about his relationship, and he was encouraged to let go those negative feelings. So he decided to focus on the negative feelings, and to release them, to let them go. And so he was able to forgive his brother. And then there was this outpouring of grief from this man. He's like, wow, I missed that opportunity with my brother. It's like 23 Christmases, 23 birthdays, all those family time he missed. And when he he forgave him, it triggered something in his brother. So his brother forgave him. So they got together, and, they were happy times, and, once again connected, and it was such a relief. And then one of the brothers had a flashback to what the argument was about, and it was actually over tennis shoes. That there was something about, oh, it's my tennis shoes, no, it's mine. And then, the argument lasted 23 years, which is incredible. That's in us as well, wanting to be right, wanting to judge, wanting to justify ourselves. And so we block our ears to and connection, block our connection to, those people that matter to us. So we see in the scripture with Jesus and the Pharisees that they're both spiritual leaders, but there is this standoff. The Pharisees are not wanting to listen to Jesus. They don't want to have a bar of Jesus. They don't want anything to do with him. And, the reason why the Pharisees didn't listen are for one of the following reasons. The first, they wanted to appear right to others. They're the ones that studied. They're the ones that understood the scripture. And Jesus was coming along teaching something new, but they wanted the ones to be right. Or they wanted to dominate. They wanted to dominate the spiritual stage, as it were, and to avoid domination. They didn't want to be dominated by Jesus. He was a threat. So there's this pushing away. 3, it's to justify themselves and to invalidate Jesus. So just to emphasize their teaching and not Jesus. Or it could have been to win and to make Jesus lose. So it was one of those reasons. And that's often in us. Like when we're not listening to someone, it might be because of that, because we want to appear right, we want to dominate, we want to justify ourselves, and we want to win. We all love to win an argument. Who doesn't? That's the obstacles I'm talking about. That's at work in us. So it's in all of us. The desire to appear right, to justify self, and to invalidate others. To win. We all want to win. And it's okay to accept that because it's a part of us. It's basically the ego. But, it's part of it. The ego served a purpose. It's designed to protect us from doing something stupid so that we don't get rejected from, the community. But the thing is, it goes too far. It holds us back from being true to ourselves, and it holds us back in fear of what could happen. It blinds us, and it's a spiritual blindness and deafness, to God and to our relationships with others. But there's a payoff to that ego. We all want to avoid responsibility, and in a way, we want to avoid taking the truth on because it can hurt and it can be. It can be heavy, it's hard. The last few years I've been working on stuff with my relationships, and one thing I was working on last year was there was a bit of disorganisation in my business and in my office, a bit of mess, and I noticed that was always around. So I wanted to figure out, okay, what's going on there? What do I need to do to improve that? And what came up for me was, surprisingly, I wanted to keep messy because I wanted my parents to kind of look after me. And so it's a bit of an irresponsibility. So when I saw that, I was like, oh my gosh, I can face that. Okay, I've got to work with that. And so I spoke to my parents and said, I realise this, and, I should, take control of my life and be responsible. And so I'm choosing to be responsible. And I'm going to say to you, I'm committed to, being responsible and being more organised. And I don't need you guys. You've done an amazing job. You've parented me and you've done everything you could, and it's amazing. I love you and thanks. And it was good, but it seemed to create a space for them to share the other stuff they think is wrong with me. So they did share, Corey, you don't listen that often. I was like, oh, really? But it was a good experience to create that space that they had the confidence to share that with me, which was really good. So that's something I'm working on. I'm always working on, growing in my listening, and so that's why it's really good for me to be here and kind of rehash this stuff so I can make sure I am listening, especially in coaching. But so how long will we hold on to that, that part of us that is sinister, that wants to be right, that wants to justify, that doesn't want to see, the truth about ourselves, and when people are trying to speak the truth to us in hard times. So we suffer when we hold on to that. So it's this. Everyone's here. It's a safe place. Everyone's here to support each other. So it's creating a non-judgmental zone, and that's what we should be focusing on in our relationship, and especially in our community, especially in our sharing times. It's creating that there's no judgment. There's nothing you can say that would be wrong. It's just what it is. It's important to have that attitude. But that's what I'm getting into with the how to listen. And so this is the 3 steps that I'd like to go through. So I have to rush through it because it's almost time's up. But so the first one is generosity. We need to have a generosity when we're connecting with someone. So even just look to the person next to you. If you don't have someone, look to someone across the room or something. But look at this person and realise that this person is living a life as vivid and as complex as yours. Do you notice how it's awkward to kind of look at someone? But again, that it's good to be aware that awkwardness, we want to avoid that, But it's good to to connect. Often we're filling it with just words or whatever. But take some time to really connect with the people in your life. But so generosity. So it's listening with empathy. It's listening without interruption. It's keeping eye-to-eye connection. So it's being present for the person and really realising this is a person that matters. The second one is to clarify, to repeat back using their words. Each person is another little world. They might speak the same language, but actually they mean different things for the words. So it's every person is a different world. So don't think you're actually listening to a person unless you're clarifying, because you're not. You're not listening to a person. So to clarify, you let go of your opinions and you're basically repeating back to them. You're basically a parrot. It feels weird, but it actually is really a great gift to the other person. So you're saying to the person, so-and-so, okay, I hear that you had an awesome time on the weekend. Is that right? It's just repeating back what you hear. And then what that does is it gives the person space to go, yeah, that's right, and there's this more. So it's just a simple technique, but really important. And then there's the to acknowledge. That's a great gift you can give to a person, because you're listening to the person, but you're listening to something that they're not actually aware of themselves. You're saying to them, wow, you did that. That shows a certain quality. You could say, wow, that shows courage. That's amazing. I'm pretty inspired to hear that. So for someone to hear that, they're like, oh, yeah, it is. People hardly ever acknowledge themselves. But if you can acknowledge them as a listener, man, it's powerful. Like an example, it just happened with Kat when I was chatting to her before it started. She said to me, oh, you look like a good speaker. I'd love to listen to you. And then it made me realise, I've given some good talks actually. But so she listened in a way of acknowledging, but gave me access to my memories of giving a good talk. So it helped me. So that's an example of how we can acknowledge someone. So that's basically all I wanted to say. We probably don't have time to practice it, unfortunately. But when you guys go for a cup of tea, and try it. I'd like you to actually just, again, so focus on that generosity. Realise this person is someone really interesting and they're living a life just like yours. And even ask the question, what did you do this week you would like to acknowledge yourself for? Or what did you do that was amazing? And then clarify, repeat back to the person. and then hopefully you have an opportunity to also acknowledge that person. Yeah, does that make sense? Any questions, any thoughts? Yeah, so that's mainly what I wanted to leave you with. So yeah, practice that, because listening, if you're listening, then you're connecting with a person, you're giving them a gift of access to their greatness, and you're making them realise that they are loved. It's basically, as a listener, you're sharing the love letter of God to them. That's how important it is, and it's fundamental. Cool, thanks for listening, guys. No worries.
Thanks very much, Corey. I'm sure we're going to have some interesting conversations over our cuppa a bit later on, really listening to each other and acknowledging each other. It'll be a good chance to put it into practice straight away. So thanks, Corey, for sharing your wisdom with us.